today I'm going to talk on the numerical for conservation laws. And basically, their conservation laws are the highly nonlinear problem, convection problems. And and particularly the applications keeping in the mind the arising in oil reservoir simulations. Okay, oil industry, how the problems are coming there and how we are attempting as an application part. Okay, first I start with a linear problem before going to a nonlinear problem. Before going to a finite volume methods, I start with a finite difference. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, definitely, sir.
Okay.
Your voice is clear.
So I will start with a simple one-way wave equation. That is, assume that there is a wave at a time t is equal to 0 at this position x naught. Okay. This wave is moving with a constant speed c. All parts of the wave moving with the same speed. After time t, since c is the speed, it moves a distance from x naught to x naught plus ct. The picture is same. Okay. So this is called a transport equation. It is get transported from a position x naught to x naught plus ct. So it is the simplest equation. How to model in the form of a partial differential equation. At a time is t is equal to 0, assume that this curve is given by the u naught of x. This is a curve is given by the at a time t is equal to 0 u naught of x. Okay. Then this says at a point x naught the value is u naught of x naught. After some time t, it moves a distance same hum is moved to a distance x naught plus ct. Therefore, solution at a capital X naught is after time t, x naught plus ct, that's at a time t, is given by it's the same height. So it is nothing but the u naught of x naught only. So if I express everything capital X naught and t, this becomes the u naught of x naught minus ct. It is just a translated. From here to here, wave is getting moved, and the value of a wave at this point is given with the same value here. Therefore, it becomes that. In general, this wave satisfies at any time t, u of x t is equal to u naught of x minus ct. U naught is the initial condition here at the time t is equal to 0. Okay, this is the problem is modeled to this one. Now it is just a translation. What kind of a partial differential equation it is satisfying? I wanted to check it. So now you just said that u of x t is equal to u naught of x minus ct. What is the PD it satisfies? Set y is equal to x minus ct, then ut is equal to minus c into ui, and u of x ct is equal to ui. Therefore, this solution satisfies this partial differential equation. Therefore, the previous example can be completely modeled by this partial differential equation. U is a function of x and time. Ut is the partial derivative with respect to time. Ux is the partial derivative with respect to x. So this is one side. From the physics, I modeled this one, this PD. Okay. Now the question is that how to solve this PD, okay, without knowing the physics background. So now we go to the how to solve mathematically this one. This is called the method of characteristics. This is called the method of characteristics. So suppose you want to solve this linear PDE on the in the line x t plane, t is positive, you want to solve it, and the initial data is given at a time t is equal to 0. Suppose you want to find a solution at a point xt, you just draw a curve here. I want to find a solution on this curve. On this curve, okay, what happens? This is parameterized by xt t. Therefore, on that line, I am differentiating it. D by dt, u of x t t, del u by del t, x t t, del u by del x, dx t by dt. Suppose if I choose the slope of this curve as c, then u is the solution of this PD. So that on this line, okay, I can choose this one straight line. Then if I choose the dxt by dt, then u is the solution of the problem. Therefore, u is, since on this line the xt derivative vanishes, therefore the solution constant on this line. Okay, because the derivative vanishes in time. Therefore, the solution at a point, any point on this straight line xt is nothing but the u naught of x naught, where it touches here. X naught is the point. because the solution is constant. That is again, x naught is nothing but xt equals x naught plus ct. Therefore, x naught is equal to xt minus ct. Therefore, again, we get back the solution. This is a mathematical way of solving. And the previous one from the physics, you were able to tell that. Okay. So this coincides with perfectly with mathematics calculations. Now I will take such a simple example. Okay. So I know the answer, I know the PDE. Now I want to solve by other numerical methods. Is the numerical method gives the same, okay? So let me start with an example. I want to solve this PDE, ut plus a. A is the speed, okay? In that, there you have written c, ut plus a in the place of c, I am writing just a here. That is the speed of the wave. So finite difference method means what? So I am discretizing, look at here. X-axis in the sequence x0, x1, x2, and so on. In the time axis t0, t1, t2, and so on. So I will write a vertical and horizontal lines. And I want to find a solution at every intersection point here. Vertical and horizontal lines usually called the grid lines. And the intersection points where I'm going to find a solution is the grid points or the mesh points. In the literature it will be called. Okay. So that now I will try to express at every grid point, my solution is at a, say that a grid point is given by xi tn. The solution at the uxi tn is nothing but u of I into h, because the mesh size, this breadth is h and this height is delta t. This each mesh sizes. This side is h, this side is delta t. That is why. So now that is by UIH N delta T at every intersection point. I denote it by UIN. Now I approximate the PDE. The finite difference method means approximates the derivatives by its finite differences. Okay. Here, for example, del U by del T, xi Tn, I'm taking here. I am differentiating the xi Tn value in the time. So I am going to the one step more Tn plus 1 minus Tn by delta T. This error will be a order of delta t by the Taylor series. This I am representing uin plus 1 minus uin by delta t. The error is order of delta t. Now I am taking a backward difference. I am differentiating tn by difference of tn minus 1 by delta t. This is also, this is called the backward. This is called the forward difference. To find a derivative, I will go one step further, tn plus 1, and I am taking the derivative at tn. Here I am going backward, tn minus 1. I am taking the derivative here. So this is called the backward, the time n plus 1 to n minus 1. This is the backward. So next is the central difference, neither forward nor backward, average of the forward and the backward. So this is nothing but I go to the forward tn plus 1, one step below tn minus 1, the difference will be 2 delta t. So this of this, we will get a higher order accuracy. Actually, if I take the central difference, you will have this one. This is my notation. uin plus 1 minus u of in minus 1 by 2 delta t. I'm approximating u by delta t like this. In a several ways, you can put it, approximate the derivative in a several ways. Next, similarly, I approximate the x derivatives. Similarly, forward I plus 1 minus I plus 1 I forward difference, I minus 1 backward difference, I plus 1 I minus 1 in the space x variable. Okay. So this is also order of h, order of h, order of h square. So now the question is, I am differentiating now. I am differentiating the PU, that is a del u by del t by plus a into del u by del x by this forward difference in time, forward difference in space, forward difference in time, backward difference in space, like this. I can write hundreds of ways. Here backward, forward, backward, or central difference. All the kinds of the collections of all the possibilities. Now the question is everything is going to work? As of course, delta t and h goes to 0. This of course go to the PDE. Fine. This is a good approximation to the PDE as delta t and h goes to 0. This goes to the PDE, no doubt about it. Is the solution goes? Can I take arbitrary like this? I have taken a linear example. Okay. Is it goes? Even for a linear example, is it possible to compute it? Answer is no, you cannot take it. For example, I am giving a simple example here. ut plus, I am taking a is equal to 1, ut plus ux is equal to 0. It's the simplest possible PDE and the simplest example. So I will take the initial data, decreasing data, ux0 is equal to u0 of x, 1, 2x cube minus 3x square plus 1, 0. It's a decreasing curve, okay? So that the exact solution is given by x minus t. This is the one. The wave is moving, look at here. The speed is 1. The wave is moving from left to the right with a speed 1. Okay, because my speed is a equals 1. So when the wave is moving left to the right, I am taking, for example, forward difference in time and forward difference in space. I will try to do it because PD agrees us. Forward difference in time and forward difference in space. I will try to compute it. Let us compute it in a hand. So we can compute it that the scheme can be written as the solution at the n plus 1 stage is computed by knowing that the solution at the nth stage. You can look at here. Then after x is equal to greater than or equal to 1, initial data is 0. Suppose at I equals 0, at the xi equals 0, at that point this becomes 0. Like this, you can show that the solution at x is equal to 1, it is always 0. But the answer is wrong. The answer is wrong. You can see that exact solution. The wave is moving from left to the right. This is an initial data, and it is moving like here. After some time t, its position is here. Position after some time t, position is here. But at x is equal to 1, after some time t, the solution should be always 1. Okay, after some time t. But here I am getting the solution at x is equal to 1. The solution is always 0. So something is wrong. What went wrong? So let us try to understand via the physics. I told that the wave is moving, look at here, the wave is moving from left to the right. A equals 1, it's a positive speed. When the wave is moving from the left to the right, I have taken a forward difference in space. That means I'm taking the right side value. There nothing is there, no information is there. So if I want to, when the wave is moving from left to the right, you cannot take a forward difference. Okay, what kind of a difference you have to take? Forward or a backward difference or a central difference. Okay, so since the wave is moving from left to the right, I should take a backward difference. That is the ui. So I should not take this one. This is a forward difference because I want to compute a solution at the VIN. Vi plus 1 is there is no information because the wave is moving from left to the right. Xi to xi plus 1. Therefore, I should take Vi minus 1. Okay. So then what is the mathematical theorem? We need it then. So that is a theorem due to the Lax. That's the equivalence theorem. It's called Lax equivalence theorem. If any finite difference method is linear, this is valid only for a linear problem. Method is linear, stable, and accuracy of order PQ, then it converges in the same order PQ in the same norm. So in the linear problem, the scheme is linear and the stability implies the convergence. This equivalence theorem says that if it convergent, then it is stable. Stability is equivalent to a convergent. This is a linear problem story. Even there, we have seen that for a linear problem, you cannot take arbitrarily the finite difference forward like that, forward or central. Okay. So when you are taking that one, so one should be careful which side wave is moving. However, we want a mathematical theorem. We don't want to check whether wave is moving forward or backward. So that when the scheme is stable, there is a stability. Then one can show that the scheme is convergent. The previous example, I took a forward difference. You can check that forward difference. If I take it, there is no condition on the mesh so that the scheme is stable. It becomes an unstable scheme. You cannot check the stability. Okay. So about the linear, in the linear problem, stability is an equivalent condition for the convergent, but it is not the case in the nonlinear problem. So I'm taking a nonlinear problem here. Ut plus f of ux is equal to 0. Okay, f of u is equal to au. The problem you have seen already. It's a linear problem. Okay. So f of u is equal to u square by 2. It's a nonlinear problem. Now it's a nonlinear Burgers equation. It's a famous equation. Okay. So it is. You can see that when it's a nonlinear problem, this stability. This theorem does not invest what is and how to approximate torque and applications in the oil reservoir simulation. So let me start what is conservation loss. It is a first law of thermodynamics. neither energy is always conserved. In other words, neither energy can be created nor can be destroyed. When there is no energy comes or goes outside of the universe. Okay, any partial differential equation of this type, okay, ut, there is a partial derivative, u is maybe a vector, ut plus the space derivative del by del x j f of j x u. X is a vector in Rn, that is x is equal to x1 to xn, for example. So ux0 is equal to u0. This here fj may be a nonlinear function. Okay, this kind of problem are called the conservation laws. Why we call it as a conservation laws? Suppose omega is in the domain in Rn. If I integral omega ut dx is the, again, integral of this one. This is nothing but the divergence of f. Okay, then by the Gauss divergence theorem. So this term is an equivalent to, since it's an integration is with respect to x, d by dt, I can take it out in the first term, and in the second term here, the plug. So this is the Gauss divergence is equal to the fj value multiplied by the norm. Okay, that is f dot normal. So otherwise, summation of j is equal to 1 to n fj mu j. So this is the, for example, you take here, suppose this is energy, the total energy in the universe, rate of change of the total energy, this one. So no energy comes and goes outside, this term becomes 0. Then this quantity is equal to 0. That means this quantity is an independent of the time. Therefore, in the universe, the energy remains constant. Or if you represent the density, okay, then this integral of omega becomes the mass. The total mass is conserved. Okay. Similarly, we can take mass and momentum and the energy. These are the conserved quantities. Suppose I will give with more specific examples later stages with more how to model that. One example I explained to you later stages. So it is well known that these problems, even though initial data are continuous, but the solution may be discontinuous. It may happen. The solution may be after some time t, the solutions become discontinuous. Okay. So that is how to handle these questions. Now I will just take a ut plus f of ux is equal to 0. Now you look at here. I don't know why it is going to the next page. So by integration by parts, this equation looks here. So now here there is no derivative on u, only integral on of u. Since by the Lebesgue theory it is enough for us the bounded measurable functions. Okay, so this is an equivalent to saying across a curve of discontinuity. Okay, suppose the solution is discontinuous. This means of this one, I'm telling. So left side value is say u minus, right side value is u plus, and the slope of that curve is given by the dz by dt. It is like a mean value theorem. F of u plus minus f of u minus, u plus minus u minus, this f dash of z usually, that is nothing but the dz by dt. This is the slope. It has to be satisfied. Okay, there may be a jump, but it is satisfied. This is called the Rankine-Hughes condition. All the weak solutions satisfying this one. This is an equivalent to saying this one. Unfortunately, when the solutions are not smooth, there is a question of uniqueness. The solutions are not unique. These weak solutions may not be unique. This is one of the main difficulty we face. So how to correct it? Now that is called an entropy condition. This is the second law of thermodynamics. We are introducing an entropy condition that the Clausius has introduced the condition called the entropy conditions. So all the weak solutions, it satisfies some kind of this condition. Okay. In other words, if f is a convex function, nonlinear convex function, then the left side value should be greater than right side value. If I draw a graph, if there is a discontinuity, u minus should be a u plus. This is what the entropy condition. If your weak solution satisfies this extra condition called the entropy condition, okay. So this then one can prove mathematically that that solution agrees with the physically meaningful solutions. In other words, for general f, this is called the Lax-Volanic entropy condition. Okay, the integral version was given by Khrushchev. Here, this is the numerical scheme. We use this one. So this is another way of equivalent way of checking whether the solution is unique or not. So this is called the weak solution satisfying this entropy condition. Then we call that the solution is unique. So we have to develop a numerical scheme capturing this solution. So I'm going to talk about the upwind schemes. That's what I have told, that upwind scheme means when the wave moves from left to the right, I take the backward difference. When the wave moves from the right to the left, I will take a forward difference. So this kind of analogies called an upwind scheme. So for that, and also I'm going to talk in some finite difference. Here I'm going to talk finite volume methods. So before that, that depends on the Riemann problem solutions. So I'm going to explain that. What are the strategies to do it? If F is convex, there is called a Hoflach's formula. That means explicitly solution can be derived, but it is impossible to compute it practically. So existence theory can be proved by the vanishing viscosity method. In 1970, Kruskov proved that in the case U is a scalar quantity, then by adding a epsilon uxx on the right hand side, there is a vanishing viscosity method. He proves the existence and the uniqueness schemes. Another way is via the numerical schemes. Today I'm going to discuss a numerical scheme depend upon the Riemann problem. That is a ut plus f of ux is equal to 0. And instead of arbitrary data, I am taking a ux0 is equal to ul if x is less than 0, ur if x is positive. One discontinuity in the data. A constant x is less than 0, it is called ul. Okay. So at x equal to 0, that is if ul is equal to ur, that ul is not equal to ur. Suppose f is a convex function. How to find a solution of this problem explicitly one can give. This is what I am going to use numerically. For example, f is a strictly convex function. F dash is an increasing function because f double prime is strictly positive. F dash of inverse is a monotonically increasing function. F dash, therefore, inverse is meaningful. So suppose ul is greater than ur, the left value is greater than ur, then the weak solution, I will draw a line x equals st because f of ul minus f of ul minus ur, that is a yes. This is what that dz by dt. That's the Rankine-Huygens condition, ul is equal to ur. So on this line, I will write a line here, x is equal to st, left side ul, right side is ur, and this is the one. Okay. Now the slope of these lines, since in the dxt by dt is nothing but the s, okay, that's the slope. Here the solution is ul, solution is constant along these characteristic lines. So dx by dt is equal to ul, for example, f dash of ul, okay. If I take the inverse, that is becomes 1 by f dash of ul. Therefore, the slope of this line is less than the slope of this line is less than the slope of this line. Therefore, the wave will come here and merge. Look at here, I'm going to explain very clearly here. Try to understand the one. This is a line. This is the line across which the solution is discontinuous. Okay. The solutions from the left side is ul, the right side is ur, and entering this discontinuity. After entering the discontinuity, we don't know what is happening. This discontinuity sucks the value from this side and this side. This discontinuity, that's why it's called a shock. And shock means it sucks the information from both the sides. You look at here. Okay, this is the correct discontinuity. This is the correct discontinuity. That means these are the characteristic lines. They merge with the discontinuity. The shock is a discontinuity. The discontinuity is called a shock when it absorbs or sucks the values from both the sides. Such a discontinuity in the physics literature is called a shock. Okay. Suppose ul is greater than ur. There, then what happens? This slope is bigger than this. Then what happens? It is characteristics don't merge. Then you cannot allow that discontinuity. Therefore, here you look that. Then in that case, we connect it by a continuous solution. If f is convex, I repeat it. If x is convex, if the data ul is less than ur, the data is increasing, then the solution has to be continuous. The previous solution is discontinuity is allowed because the left value is greater than the right value. That's for the entropy condition. It is a weak solution from this condition, and left's value is greater than the ur. This is like writing that energy jumps from higher level to the lower level. That's why that entropy condition, the word entropy means En means energy, Entropy means change. Okay, that's what energy jumps from. That's why left side should be higher than the right side if it's a convex function. So if the left side is less than the right side, then discontinuity is not allowed. Okay, so we have to connect it by the continuous solutions. There are infinitely many solutions. In that, I took a continuous solution only. This is given by UL, the speed, because UL is less than UR, F dash is an increasing, F dash of UL is less than F dash of UR. This value is less than this value. In the middle, I will connect it by a continuity. So that is nothing but the F dash of inverse X by T. So this is how, if F is a convex function, if UL is less than UR, then the solution has to be continuous. Suppose F is a concave function, then the opposite happens. Okay, because F dash is a decreasing function. In this case, UL less than UR, if F is a concave function, then there is a discontinuity. If UL is greater than UR, opposite things happens. If F is a concave function. I will give you a simple example how I am going to model. From a simple example, you can see it. And before that, I want to quote that. Suppose Riemann problem solution is given by, say, WR X by T UL UR. Then at the point X is equal to 0, okay, the speed is 0. Therefore, these two are equal because dz by dt is 0 in the Rankine condition. Since these two are equal, I will just represent it by F of WR Z UL UR because it's independent of plus and minus. These two are equal. Okay, this is the one I'm going to use in the numerical scheme. Before that, I will take an experiment here. Okay, so I want to model. See, this is assume that this is some kind of a vessel. This is separated by a layer. This is a water. This is some oil. Okay, so now I will set the initial data. Say it is a half a liter here, half a liter here, the volume wise. So I will set the initial data. If I know the water, some mistake is happening, sorry. Some problem. Just the slide has moved fast. That's why that figure has to go back. Okay. So now look at here. So okay, it's again moving to that. That is a. So now look at here left side, it's a half a liter, therefore it is enough if I know the water position. Because always if I remove the layer, the water rushes to the right side and oil goes to the left side, above. Oil is always above than the water. So initial data I'm setting, look at here, ux0 is equal to 1, 1, 1 here, and after half it is 0, water level. Okay, that's why 1 up to 0.5, 0 after that. So total amount of the fluid in the initial data is equal to 0 to 1, ux0, that's 0.5, that's 1, that is nothing but half a liter. Okay, now I will start the experiment. You look at here, I'm going to explain before that. Look at here now. I allow the remove the layer, water oil is coming up. Okay, note several points here. The water droplet at the middle, this side water comes to this side and this side oil goes to this side. While moving water, the water at a point x is equal to half in the middle. The water droplet at that point, that point, the mid value of the water droplet remains there. Therefore, the velocity of that droplet is 0. Okay, and you look at there, here, this side, not here, this side, the red line here, this side is equal to this side. That means UA0 of xt is nothing but the 1 minus of uxt. Here, the data was, initial data was decreasing, but the solution is continuous. I repeat it. You look at here, initial data is discontinuous, 1 and 0, but the solution is continuous. You look here. solution is continuous. That means it has to be a concave function. I am going to model now this problem. How I have to translate this problem to it's a conserved total amount of the fluid is same at any time. It's a total sum is 1 liter, or water is half a liter. So I want to put in this form this differential equation. Ut plus f of ux, what is my f is? I have to find now. Now you take here, integrate 0 to 1 d by dt uxd. This is equal to f of u0t, f of 1 minus t. No fluid enters other than that water and oil half of a liter. No fluid enters and no fluid leaves of the vessel. Therefore, the difference is 0. Therefore, d by dt is equal to 0. Okay, that's the one condition I have. Second condition, I told that the amount water decreases here, same amount decreases at a point 1. Therefore, u0t is equal to 1 minus u1t. Okay, this implies since u0t is equal to 1 minus u0t, I got the value of u0t here. Therefore, then the solution is smooth, because you have seen that even though discontinuous solution is discontinuous, but the solution is smooth. The velocity at a point, the middle droplet, I told you it doesn't move neither left or right side. The velocity is 0. Therefore, the solution is continuous. The data is decreasing. Therefore, f has to be constant. And while moving, you have seen that the solution in the middle is a linear. Okay, so therefore, the solution is expressed in terms of the f dash of inverse. F dash is a linear, f dash of inverse. There is no other choice. By seeing these values, there is only one choice. F of u is equal to u into 1 minus u. This is the simplest model for this data. If I solve this PDE with this initial data, I will get the same solution. This is the same solution I'm going to get it. So this is the simplest model. It's a nonlinear phenomenon. Data is discontinuous. The solution is continuous. Okay. And this is I'm going to develop now. I'm interested to the finite volume approximation. So what is the finite volume approximation? In the beginning, I told what is the finite difference method. In the finite difference method, I was computing a solution at these points, the intersection points. Why I am using the finite volume method? Because I want to conserve a mass in this one. That is an average. Conserve a mass means is an average of a solution. Okay. So on each cell, that is why I am preferring the finite volume method. Here in the finite volume method, I am not computing a solution at the intersection points. I will find a solution, average of a solution on this whole cell. Okay. Since in the finite volume method, another advantage is in the multi-dimensions, I can discretize like a finite element method. Need not be taking the finite difference method. We always take a rectangles, because I want to intersect here. And these lines are parallel to x and t axis. In the finite volume method, like in the finite element method, I can discretize the domain as triangles, rectangles, quadrilaterals, and so on. Okay, but I will find an average of a solution on that triangle or a rectangle. So this is a finite volume method is more advantageous for capture the discontinuous solutions. It lies between the finite volume and the finite element and the finite difference method. It has an advantage of the finite element method, like I can discretize the domain, rectangles and triangles. That is not possible in the finite difference method. So now I will explain to this problem what is the finite volume method. So as I said, I want to find an average of a solution here, not a solution at an intersection point. This is the finite volume and the finite difference method. I take the partial differential equation del u by del t, del f by del x on this interval, xi minus half to xi plus half, tn to tn plus 1. Okay, tn to, in this rectangle, I am integrating. This is the solution. Because solutions are discontinuous. I cannot calculate the point-wise values because the solutions are discontinuous. But even though solutions are discontinuous, I can integrate them. That is why. So I integrate the solution. Okay, since first I will integrate here. Here, del u by del t. Here I am integrating here. Look at here. Del u by del t. There is a time derivative. There is a time integration. Therefore, this becomes xi minus half to xi plus half. U of x of tn plus 1, and the solution at the tn is given by this one. And similarly here x derivative tn to tn plus 1, f of uxi plus half t, f of uxi minus half t. So this is an equivalent to that one. I am rewriting that one as follows. So look at here, this I'm multiplying by and multiplying by h and divided by h, then this becomes the 1 by h into h times of average I'm taking. 1 by h Ujn is nothing but the average of the solution. I use this formula and I am rewriting here. See, look at here. This is the finite volume method. I'm computing an average of a solution over a cell. It may be rectangle, quadrilateral, or whatever may be that. Uj of n plus 1 minus ui n h. This one is the problem because at the point xi plus half, the solution may be discontinuous. How to find a solution? I told that I want to develop an upwind method. Okay, they are more accurate. That is why I'm looking at how to compute this one. So I'm rewriting it. He says ut plus f of ux like a quasi-linear PDE. This is nothing but the ut plus f dash of u. This is my speed. For example, you compare here in the first equation ut plus c into ux. C was the speed. If f dash of u is positive, the wave is moving from left to the right. F dash of u is negative, wave is moving from right to the left, but it's unknown quantity. Okay, I will set m is equal to supremum of f prime of u. If the initial data u naught is bounded, this is also bounded. Therefore, I can say that it's a finite quantity. Now, I'm taking a Riemann problem now. On each cell, ut plus f of ux is equal to 0, ux is equal to 0. In the convex case, I have given the solution here. In the non-convex case, it is complicated. But however, you just write that u of xt is equal to this Riemann problem solutions. And on the line at x is equal to xi plus half, the speed is 0. Therefore, f of the left value of the solution is equal to the f of the right value of the solution. Okay. So using this one, now suppose how to construct a solution here. This is what the Goodenough scheme. Suppose the wave here, look at here, xi plus half, xi plus 3 by 2, xi minus half. These are the discretization point. The solution, the average solution in this interval is Vin. In this solution is Vi plus 1. Okay. Now I am allowing the wave to move. This is a solution at a time t equals Tn. Now I want to compute a solution, average of an exact solution. That's what the Goodenough scheme computes. So you are allowing it to move in such a way that you should not go beyond of the average of this point. That's why I'm putting delta. The waves should not move across this one. That means I have to reduce the delta t in such a way that the height should be delta t into m should be less than h by 2. This wave should not move that side. That is why. So that in this kind of discretization, I am allowing the solution and I am computing the solution on this line now. By knowing the data here, I am computing the solution by the formula. So now I can see that this is a Riemann problem solution. I don't know the solution, one need not to calculate here. But without computing, the Goodenough gives a formula for that. That is the greatness of this work. F of g of uv, f of wr 0 uv, he gives the formula. You may not be knowing the Riemann problem solution by a complicated f, but however, this formula can be used. This is an exact formula, gives that whatever may be the f, whatever may be the nonlinearity. That is the beauty of the Goodenough scheme. So a minimum of W belongs to UV, f of W if U is less than or equal to V. Maximum of f of W, this is the formula. So it's an upwind scheme. When the wave is moving left to the right, f dash is positive. If f is increasing, the flux f of g of u is nothing but f of u. Automatically switch overs to the forward or backward. F is decreasing, it takes the f of v, the forward thing. Even if f is a convex function, if f is a convex, there will be only one minima, that is called it theta f. This formula can be given here. This is the beauty of the numerical scheme. The story goes like this. In his thesis in 1954, he found this formula beautifully. This is one of the highly cited paper for an upwind scheme today. When he submitted to the journal, to the mathematics journals are rejected because there is no mathematics in it. Then he submitted to the physics journal, they said that there is no physics in it. So he could not publish his paper. In 1959, Petrovsky was the editorial board in the Max Bornik. So he saw this work and he published it in Max Bornik in 1959. After 5 years of his thesis, it was got published. Now it is one of the highly cited paper. It was rejected by every journal in the beginning. So it is a simple, it looks for a, just looks that this is the numerical analysis. If somebody finds a formula or estimates algorithm, after that it may look simple, but people take several years to find that algorithm. So if somebody finds it, after that things may look very simple. So now I am rewriting. So VAN plus 1 is equal to VAN minus lambda times of f of I plus half f of I minus half. Now I am writing the solution at the n plus 1 stage is computed by the 3-point schemes like VAN, VA minus 1, VA plus 1. So here my aim is to find not only my solution should be a weak solution plus it should satisfy some entropy condition. Okay. So that is the problem. So in 1980, Crandall and Maida were able to give a theorem that we want mathematicians, we want a theorems. Under what condition? This scheme converges directly to an entropy solution. Okay. So they were able to say that if this H is increasing in each variable, even it's a parabolic equation also it is true. If it is increasing in each variable, then one can see that this Goodenough scheme, what I mentioned, is increasing if lambda into f is less than or equal to 1. Lambda is nothing but delta t over h, m less than or equal to 1. Then this is an increasing in each variable. Then they proved that you need not to check this scheme converges, it is exactly converges to an entropy solution. Okay, this is a mathematical theorem was proved in 1980s. So that now stability does not imply the convergence. That's the first I told that in the linear problem, stability does not imply the convergence. So what we should do? So that first I will prove that if the data is bounded, the solution is also bounded by assuming that it is increasing in each variable. Suppose m0 is the minimum of all these 3 values, then this is nothing but is a consistency. If I put all or 3 are equal, then this becomes W. That is called a conservative scheme. Scheme should be conservative and consistent. It should happen like here. If I put all the 3 values are same, then it should reduce to W. So here m0, Vi minus 1, Vin, minimum of all these quantities. Then this is equal to h of m0. This is, since the scheme is increasing in each variable, so m0 is the minimum. Therefore, this is Vi minus 1 is bigger than m0. Vi is bigger than m0. Va plus 1 is bigger than m0. Vn plus 1. Again, this is the less than or equal to maximum. Okay. Therefore, this is the solution. Therefore, if the initial data is bounded, the solution is also bounded. So under the CFL condition, that means Courant, Friedrich, and Levy conditions, this comes in the wave equation. The way in the wave equation, for example, D'Alembert solutions, that is a domain of dependence of the theoretical domain of dependence contains in the numerical domain of dependence, then the scheme is stable. That is an idea. This is given by, that is why you call it as a CFL condition. Goodenough scheme is LNPT stable. The LNPT norm, it is a stable. This one. So stability does not implies the convergence. I need some more conditions. So that there is another scheme of an upwind other than Goodenough scheme. Instead of there, I took the minimum and the maximization. Here, they take that integral. The each flux not as the minimum or the maximization. The integral version, it is a less integration is less expensive than finding the minimum or the maximum. But this is also one can prove that the scheme is increasing in each variable. That is, in other words, it is a monotone scheme. It also converges to the entropy solution. But the problem is that Goodenough scheme is better than this scheme. Computationally shows that this scheme is not good as the Goodenough scheme. Goodenough scheme is the best scheme. No scheme can give a better answer than this problem. So now what is the problem? Now I have to prove the convergence. Stability is there, but stability does not imply the convergence. So that is, in other words, a scheme is said to be total variation diminishing. That means some of the amplitudes, oscillations, solution started to get oscillate. So some of the amplitudes at a time level Tn should be bounded by this sum of the amplitudes of the solution at the n plus 1th level. That is nothing but the total variation diminishing property. That means if the initial data has the minima and the maxima, maxima decreases, minima increases like in the heat equation. Okay. So that this property should satisfy. Why? This is one of the another condition. This is called the functions of bounded variations. The solution not only stable, it should be in the functions of bounded variation. Okay. So now I will back to the question. In the first question, I told that in the while studying the weak Rankine-Hughes condition, weak solution, the left and the right limit. So when the functions are discontinuous, what is the guarantee that left and the right limit exits? Okay. So this is an advantageous over there. If a function is in the functions of bounded variation, there is a theorem. If f is a function of bounded variation, if and only if it can be written as the difference of two monotone functions. For a monotone functions left and the right limit exits. If u is a solution of a scalar conservation law, even though it's a discontinuous, then the right limit exits. Okay, this shows that discontinuity is not okay. It is not the second kind of discontinuity. It's the first kind of discontinuity. So this is the beauty of this. So once I have this one, there is a theorem. How to check this one? There was a big question. When you are putting a fine, it gives an answer. But I'm not sure whether it converges or not. How to detect it? Number of oscillations it creates. So how to check what is any mathematical theorem? So people took 20 years. In 1980, Horton was able to give a simplest formula to check. So if the numerical scheme, like if I write the numerical scheme in this fashion, this like a forward difference, this is a backward difference, forward difference, like here. If these conditions are satisfied, then the scheme satisfies the total variations diminishing. That means it is a functions of bounded variation. Even though initial data may be oscillations, oscillations don't. Okay. One of the beautiful mathematical theory is that the functions of bounded variation in L1 omega is compact. That means every bounded sequence here, if the solution is here, every bounded sequence has a convergent subsequence in L1 omega. Okay, now I got that. Stability does not imply the convergence, but my solution is now not only stable, but also I'm able to put it as a total variation diminishing. The computed solution VH of xt is equal to VIN. It has convergent subsequences. I'm putting, but that doesn't. So that I have to check that each subsequence, that means every sequence converges to the same point by uniqueness. That means the whole subsequence. So now one can show that the entropy condition, this is called the Lax-Van Dijk theorem. It is proved in the 1960. In addition to the stability, and VHK converges in L1 log, that is a L1 topology, then the limit is a weak solution. That is what he proves that. That's for that to state the second statement. I need that, I have to put that the computed solution in the functions of bounded variation. So those who are interested, they can study these references textbooks, Godlowski and Ravia, Hyperbolic System of Conservation Laws. Another book by R.J. Leveque, Numerical Methods for Conservation Laws. These are the very two beautiful book. Okay. So now it said that there is a convergent subsequences. Now I wanted that whole sequence should converge. Means every subsequence converges to the same point. That means the whole sequence converges. Now one can prove that the scheme is, that's what I told, that monotone scheme, that is h is increasing in each variable. One can prove that the numerical scheme converges, satisfies at a cell point, the integral sense, it satisfies this inequality that is called an entropy inequality. This means the whole sequence converges. Okay. So this is the whole philosophy of it. That's why I have taken that ut plus f of ux is equal to 0. Okay. Then you develop a numerical scheme, finite volume method. It depends upon the upwind. There are two examples I gave, Goodenough scheme and the Inquisitor scheme. Goodenough scheme is the best, and I gave the formula. Okay. So it's about the scalar law, ut plus f of ux is equal to. Now, can we develop such a theory? In the multidimensional cases, you can go by the dimensional splitting. But this theory does not work in the case of a system. So completely it's an open problem to this is one of the green area to do research for the youngsters. So we don't have neither mathematical proofs, those who are interested in theory. We don't have a good numerical methods to compute a solutions, for example, Euler equations. Euler equations of gas dynamics and so on. Of course, people have developed, but theoretically, we are unable to prove the convergence analysis in general. We don't have a theorems like here, like in the conservation law. This is a completely a green area to the youngsters to take up this area. Okay, before that, now I'm going to, I gave the thing, I'm giving some applications here. Okay, so there's the main thing is that I'm concentrating on the conservation of mass. Even the example water and oil, I gave that the mass is conserved. That means half a liter of water is conserved. Okay, how it is moving and all, I gave the mathematical model. So I take an example from an oil industry. Okay, how they, for example, how they pump the oil from the reservoir, pump out the oil. So let me start with a simple example. Assume that this is a very crude and toy model. Okay, this is an oil bed. This is an oil is there, petroleum or something oil. Mathematically, for me, is that density of that is less than the density of the water. Okay, so this is an oil bed. So they will close that block. This one, they want to remove the oil in this surfaces. They completely block it, because when you block it, and they will here is an output well. They are pumping out the oil. Here they are inserting the water with a high speed, with a high pressure. Okay, this pressure with the oil, water enters, density of the water is greater than the density of oil. So it starts to push because all the sides are blocked. There is no other way. Water is always the behind the oil. Oil is here. Water don't cross the oil because density of this one is less than that. So always, if I know the water position, I know the water oil. Therefore, it is enough if I find the water position. Water is pushing here and pushes. The oil comes and fall in this output well, and they pump out it. This is the strategy. Okay, this is a simple strategy to here. Practically, there is a difficulty. How they will do it? They won't send it one places. This is called the 5-spot problem. Look at here. The water is injecting from a pipe from the ground level to the reservoir level. Okay, and inject the water from the top to the bottom. As I said, it won't go like that. Then what happens? Water injecting from top to the, this is called the source well. Then injecting this goes 4 direction. I'm taking here, and taking here. It pushes the water in this direction, oil in this direction to the this direction. Here is an output well. This is a source. I'm injecting the water here, and here source from all the 4 directions and pumping it out. So here I'm pumping the water here. It goes in this direction, in this direction, in this direction, and this direction. So this water goes and enters here, output well. This water goes and enters here. Once water reaches from the source to this, okay, after that nothing can be moved. You have to stop the experiment. Okay, this is called the 1/4 of a problem. You look at here. You look at here. This is the 5 points problem. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points are the sink, and 1 point I'm injecting. 5-spot problem. This is called a 5-spot problem. In the middle, I'm injecting it. I am interested only one portion of this one. How the moment of here. Okay, I'm concentrating here. So this is the model, mathematical model. Now is given by in 1940s, given by Berkeley and Laverett. Okay, so this is a scalar conservation laws. S is the position of a water, saturation of a water. S is the position. If it is enough, as I mentioned that it is enough if I know the position of a water. So yes, I am computing the position of a water by del x1 F1 Sx del by into 2 dimension. I am taking in a moving in a plane. So here F1x is the velocity V1x, F of S, F of 2x here. These are the rho W is the density of water, density of an oil is the gravity, and so on. So that's the mobility, permeability of the rock. It is not just going there. It has to pass through rocks. Each rocks may be a sand rock or a solid rock, and the permeabilities play a very important role in the motions. The permeabilities are measured by the mobility of the water, mobility of the oil. These are the permeabilities. Okay, mu L is the viscosity of the water or the oil. Okay, so now here V1 and V2, the velocities. has to be solved for the elliptic equation, the pressure equation. I am using a pressure also. I am pushing a water with the pressure. Therefore, the pressure equation has to solve the elliptic equation. So I am computing a elliptic equation from pressure from the elliptic equation and solving del dot V is equal to 0. From that, V is given by here. This equation, once I compute V, I am substituting here and I am solving this conservation loss. Okay, this is the technique. For this conservation loss, I have given that in one dimension, how the mathematical theory. Similarly, this is extended to the multi-dimension. So now, if you do the experiments, so what happens here, look at here, the water is pushing here and water is going here, lot of oil is left out here. Because water is pushing in this direction, water moves faster with high speed, the water reaches here and completely most of the oil is left out. You cannot recover all the oil. Most of this is a complete loss to the oil industry. So you can see in the next slide how it is moving. You can see that. So if you solve the differential equations and one, it is moving here. Now it is stopped because water has reached and oil is left completely recovering. It's not possible. Now I want to better recovery. I wanted to make it. That means even though with high pressure, it should spill the oil. That means my water should move very, very slowly. Okay. So that means I have to increase the viscosity of the water. Means I have to thicken the water. As the water becomes thick and thick, it moves the very slowly and cover all the places and sweeping better. That means I am going to solve making the water thicker by dissolving a polymer at some particular places in the oil reserve. Okay, there are places where the oil is not moving faster. There I am putting the polymer dissolving. So that's how they do it. But this, unfortunately, mathematically, this becomes the scalar conservation law, becomes the system of conservation laws. Now becomes problem, mathematically becomes complicated. How to solve this one? Now I will give just an idea how we are solving by numerically. There is now constant. Okay, therefore there was no this equation. Only this equation was there, scalar law, but we found that the solution given from that is not, it's a big loss to the industry. So therefore I am putting a polymer in the water, but that now mathematically it becomes a system. So now I have to solve this system now. So, and I have to prove that by dissolving a polymer, I will get a better recovery. Okay. So that's what we are going to prove. Of course, explicit solutions are impossible to compute it, but however, numerically and convergence analysis, so somehow we are showing that this is possible and numerical scheme can be done, even though method is highly nonlinear. So for that system, the Rankine-Huygens condition, I told that discontinuous solutions has to satisfy some extra condition, weak solution, it has to satisfy this condition. So now I am taking a system of ut plus f of uvx is equal to 0, vt plus g of uvx is equal to 0. This system now, before I developed a numerical scheme for only one law. Now I am taking a system, okay. Now what we do is here in this particular cases, it works very well. I will consider the first equation here as though I know the second variable, I know it, and I will solve the first equation. And similarly in the second equation as though I know the first variable, UIN data is given, I will put it here, and this one. Similarly here, so now I will consider this solution ut plus f of uvi and f of ut plus f of uvi plus 1. This coefficient. So now problem is before ut plus f of ux is equal to 0, f is a smooth in u. But here there is another coefficient with respect to that. Solution is discontinuous. Okay. In this case, how to handle? It was a question for a long time. So it's an equivalent to saying that in one scalar conservation law, ut plus f of ukx is equal to 0. Kx is a discontinuous function. Okay. How to solve this problem now? So it is something like this is a heterogeneous media. The problem is heterogeneous. Here is one conservation law. Here is a different conservation law separated by an interface. Okay. Now how to compute a numerical scheme on this interface? You don't know whether to take G or whether to take F. So to compute a solution to the Riemann problem, this problem was attacked and extended by us, myself and Adimurti, to the discrete heterogeneous case. That is, if we extended the Gounod scheme, it is possible if f and g are of the convex shape, and they have the convex means they have the only one minima. Theta g is the minimum of g. Theta f is the minimum of f. This is the formula. This can be the Gounod formula. We extended to this heterogeneous media. Okay, if f is equal to z, there is no discontinuity, then it goes back to the Gounod scheme. One can prove that this is a monotone scheme under CFL condition. But unfortunately, what really happened is, mathematically, this solution is not a bounded variation. Okay, our students have proved that, and it is not a function of bounded variation. That paper has published in Communications and Pure and Applied Mathematics, one of the top journal. And also the convergence analysis of this scheme, myself, Adimurti and Jeffrey, it is published in SAM Journal of Numerical Analysis. That's what we did is here, roughly here, is that Gounod scheme was for the continuous fluxes, and we take the coefficient. It doesn't work for the coefficients that is in the case of a heterogeneous media. Because of the heterogeneous media creates, because you can find the rocks in the oil reservoir, one place to another place, the medium changes. Okay, reservoir, medium changes. So the properties of the permeability and everything place to place, it will changes. That is why it is better to use this technique, and it gives a much better convergences. Now I am slowly moving to the numerical computations. I gave some background of a theory. Okay, so now this is the two-dimensional reservoir. Okay, to start with, in the first, I will divide here for the numerical purposes. I have taken only the rectangle domains. X and Y axis is divided into rectangles. In the first cell, to begin with, I fill up with water before entering to that. This is my initial condition. 1 is here and 0 everywhere. Okay, because it is enough for me. This one, water position, it is enough. How water is moving. So now I have to create a rocks, artificial rocks. What we do is that in a domain, we consider small circles where in the equation, the permeability values become small, because I don't know how reservoir looks. But however, benchmark problem, we create an artificial rocks here. So you take a small rocks here, you give the radius, some epsilon, or this shape or whatever this shape. In this place, your permeability is very, very small. Okay, then you do the coefficients are given in the PD. In these places, they are the functions of X and Y, and you created a rocks here artificially. In the first experiment, the rocks are very good permeability, like a sandstones. Okay, you can see that experiments. Now here, without, you look at here, without merging the polymer, without a polymer here, it moved very fast here. And with the polymer, look at here, it's sweeping much better. It is not leaving much oil here. Okay, so you look that this is a numerical answer we are getting here. So you can see that in the next slide, you can see this experiment. Left side, without a polymer is not dissolved. In the right side experiment, polymer is dissolved. In the right side experiment moves very slowly because water is thickened and sweeping is better. Okay, left side there is no water is very thin and moving very fast. See, that reaches the output well faster and stops that. But still it is moving and sweeping is much better in the right hand side. Now the next you look at here, we are considering the gravitational, the gravity from top to the bottom. The water is entering from not from the corner, water is entering from here. And in this direction, the gravity is given to you. So this water is moving this side more. If you want the water to be moved here more, then you have to add the gravitational term here. Here I'm adding it in the X direction. Look that here, the moment is very high. That means here like here. So the water is moving this side, is moving down. Now I am creating a solid rocks. Permeability is very, very small. Medium is heterogeneous. These are all the hard rocks. Okay. So again, the permeability I will give a very, very small value in these places. In the blue places, something is higher. Okay, so that now you can see that the left side without a polymer, shear sweeping is better, but it cannot pass through the rocks. Rocks will be there around of this one. It moves here and sweeps much better. Here it moves very fast. Look at, you can see the experiments. These numerical experiments were done by one of my PhD student at that time, Sudarshan Kumar. Now he's a faculty at IISER Trivandrum. Okay, these numerical experiments were done by him in his PhD thesis. So maybe I will stop at here. Maybe some in the beginning I will repeat it. I introduce the linear wave equation and how to find a difference methods and what are the how the scheme should be choose forward or backward depending upon the wave direction. And in the linear problem, stability implies the non-linear problems, but in the pressure condition, you need that total variation bounded. That means solution you should put in the functions of bounded variations. Then solution also should satisfy the entropy conditions. That for that, if a numerical scheme is a monotone scheme, then it converges to an entropy solutions. Okay, so these are the mathematical theorems. But the media is heterogeneous, so that Gounod scheme has to be extended to the discontinuous cases. That some of the formulas I have given that, some of our students are also have done that, and from that one. And the question is here, unfortunately, what really happens is that these monotone schemes, unfortunately, they are the first order accurate. So that means higher order accuracy, how to do it. So what they do is that the numerical schemes are designed in such, you cannot create a fully higher order scheme for the hyperbolic conservation laws. Even for ut plus ux is equal to 0, you cannot create a highly second order schemes. Like in the parabolic equation, take a central difference and create it. You cannot do that. Okay. Here, globally, the schemes are first order accuracy only. But when there is an oscillation, the scheme is designed in such a way that near the location of the oscillations, the scheme reduces to a first order. And in the other places, it is a second order. Globally, it may not be give a second order or a higher order. Okay, so like that kind of a slope limiters the schemes, and in the time Runge-Kutta methods are used, like converting PD into ODE and each step using the higher order schemes in such a way that when there is an oscillation, the scheme automatically reduces to the first order. So such schemes are used here. So that globally for a hyperbolic conservation loss, it is impossible to create. It is not possible. In fact, total variation diminishing schemes. If a scheme is total variation diminishing, immediately it reduces to a first order. Globally, locally you can make a higher order scheme when there is no discontinuity. Okay, because of the conservativity, when there is the area under the graph is same. Okay, so from that in the smooth region solution is smooth, and immediately it gives that in the discontinuous region also it gives the right answer. So one basic question people may ask here, that you are telling that you are using a conservation loss, the solutions are discontinuous, but the scheme are derived from the Taylor series. Taylor series are done by assumptions that the functions are differentiable. That's a basic question people may ask here. But what really happens is that even though the solutions are discontinuous, but their conservative property. That means area under the graph remains the same. Therefore, when the solution approximates well in the smooth region, then automatically area has to be preserved. Therefore, even in the discontinuous region also it has to approximate it. Only it is enough the solution approximates well in the smooth region. So Taylor series still one can valid because of the conservative property. If your scheme is not conservative, then this whole theory completely, what I mentioned, is completely fails. Okay, so this is why that is the laws of thermodynamics, first law of thermodynamics. is completely used. These are the equations for conservation of mass, momentum, and energy. Where the conservative quantities comes, then only you can use these techniques. Okay, thank you very much. I will stop at this point.